Because of George Armstrong Custer's loss and death at the Battle of Little Bighorn, practically every American is familiar with his name and thinks they understand his narrative. Long before that deadly day, however, Custer had a colorful career that included service on the Western frontier and during the Civil War. Who was George Armstrong Custer in real life? What was the true reason behind his fame? What did his adversaries and peers think of him? During his career, did he actually achieve anything of military significance? Hi there. Welcome to this episode of Forgotten History. My name is Colin Heaton, and I am a writer, historian, and veteran of the military. On December 5th, 1839, George Armstrong Custer was born in New Bromley, Ohio, into a big, extended family. After turning 18, he somehow managed to get a recommendation to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. Despite coming from a middle-class family with no political ties and a reputation for stirring up controversy. Despite being exceptionally bright and talented in a variety of subjects, including geography, history, Latin Greek, and horsemanship, Custer was a disciplinary issue upon matriculating in 1857. He had numerous demerits and restrictions and was essentially a lazy student who came dangerously close to expulsion on multiple occasions. Custer nearly set a West Point record by earning 726 demerits in just 4 years, and his poor academic performance caused him to graduate last in his class. The term GOAT is often used to describe the student who graduated last. His future Army career would ordinarily have been limited due to his lack of academic achievement, but since officers were desperately needed during the early stages of the Civil War, he was assigned to Washington, D.C., after receiving his second lieutenant appointment. The U.S. Army was in dire need of officers to fight in the just-started Civil War, despite his lackluster academic record. After receiving his second lieutenant commission, he was in the right place to establish relationships. In July 1861, Custer was baptized by fire during the First Battle of Bull Run. Despite being widely seen as dangerous, his acts and methods impressed Union General George McClellan, who appointed him to his staff. After that, Custer gained some notoriety during the Peninsula Campaign, which started in the spring of 1862 and gained a reputation for leadership that was both bold and daring. Many of his superiors and peers would not take the same risks as Custer. He was more of an instant reactionist than a cunning cavalry commander. While his troops died and were injured all around him during his combat experience, he hardly ever suffered. He seized the chance when he spotted it. It was dubbed Custer's luck. In addition, Custer gained notoriety as a self-centered media hound who never passed up the chance to be interviewed or have his photo taken by journalists covering the conflict. Custer's name and achievements sold newspapers, so much so that Harper's Weekly sent a permanent reporter to follow him throughout the war. Whether he was participating in an action, Custer was actually the one officer they typically turned to for a tale. The upper Union leadership, however, liked Custer because of his good fortune. To the dismay of many of his soldiers, he set an example in combat by never shirking or avoiding direct contact, even when facing superior numbers. When Custer went home on leave in December 1862, he married Elizabeth Bacon, a childhood acquaintance, even though her family wasn't very impressed with the youthful, inexperienced, and brazen lieutenant. Known as Libby, she was from a well-known and prosperous business family, which is why Custer, who valued money much, thought about starting his own company after the war. Custer, the flamboyant star of West Point's class of 1861, was elevated to brigadier general at the age of 23, ahead of more senior officers, and took command of the Michigan Cavalry Brigade in the summer of 1863 after General Philip Sheridan suggested to General Ulysses S. Grant that Custer be given command of a regiment or even a brigade. He soon started wearing a distinctive and colorful uniform, which increased his notoriety even further. At the Battle of Gettysburg, for example, Custer's cavalry screen identified and stopped General Jeb Stuart from attacking Union troops on their flank, and he later captured several hundred Confederate soldiers fleeing south, demonstrating his effectiveness despite his haughty and flamboyant demeanor.